Welcome, everybody. Michael here. I know it's a day that people are enjoying themselves, as they should, and it's really not the right time to get serious, or is it? Is it time to get serious? Are you there? Well, let's see if you're there. If you're there, say hello on my chat board before I begin today's small discourse on the meaning of Passover. This is the savage nation, borders, language, and culture rule, as most of the Western world has awakened, perhaps too late for Europe, but maybe just in time for America. We are defined by our borders, our language, and our culture. And at last, we again have a president who understands that we need our borders to have our language and to have our culture. Europe, I'm afraid it's too late. They're arresting women in Europe for taking away iPads from their children to encourage them to do their put a woman in jail, a woman with her. But I've got to tell you this. This is a interactive program. And if you're listening, and I know you must be there because I can see by the numbers of people who are tuned in that you are there. So we have a chat board on FaceTime. Is it Facebook, YouTube, and on X. And there we are. Never miss a comment. Click on a chat message to display it on the screen. Hello, Michael. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, Savage. It's Passover, not Easter. Well, it is Easter tomorrow, which is why my TV show on Newsmax is going to be pushed into a later hour for a Jesus special, which happens. It's fine. And we'll be back at our regular time after that. But today I would like to talk briefly, about the meaning of Passover. Now, most people who are not Jewish understand that the Jews run around on Passover with these things, this stuff called Matzoh. And they don't quite understand the significance of this stuff. What's the meaning of this? Is it only about matzah? Kids don't understand it. And kids are taught, well, it reminds us of the time that we were slaves in Egypt and that we were in haste and we couldn't let our bread leaven. And we had to make our bread in haste, and we made unleavened bread. That's the whole meaning. Is that the whole meaning? It means nothing to most children. How could a child relate to something that happened thousands of years ago? And why should they talk about something that happened thousands of years ago? Which is the bigger question. I, for one, think it's better to teach children about their country, their traditions, in the modern sense. What does it mean today? What does it mean today? That's what I would like to talk about. So I'm going to give you two versions today. Oh, next week is Easter Sunday. Okay. Well, okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I thought it was tomorrow. That's why my show on Newsmax was pushed, but they're doing Jesus ahead of Easter Sunday. Okay. Tomorrow's Palm Sunday. Thank you very much for that. For my Christian friends, I do appreciate that. I used to love Palm Sunday. We live next to a church in Queens on Utopia Parkway. I used to love to see the people walking by with palms in late March and April. There was something so beautiful about it. Every religion has its rituals and its symbolism and its deeper meaning. And I can only speak for my religion, my people. I can't hope to tell you what Christianity is about. I would let that to the Christian scholars, the Christian storytellers, the Christian believers, not me. So years ago, I put it all down in a book called God, Faith, and Reason. Unfortunately, it's no longer in print, but we're going to reprint it at some point by popular demand. And in it, I wrote a few pages on the meaning of Passover, and I'll read that to you in a minute. But before I begin, I'll tell you about my memories of Passover. It was my mom, Queens, little house, attached brick house, and 7310 Utopia Parkway, 20 feet wide, 100-foot deep lot. neighbors on both sides because they used to build like 10 houses together in attached houses like these row houses. It was a palace to me. I didn't crave a mansion. I didn't need a mansion. I had a mansion in that little house. That house was a palace after where we came from, the Bronx. It was the first home we ever owned, and it was a palace. So on Passover, my mother would cook for days. She'd prepare for people, and relatives would come, and the house was full. This little house was full of life and full of love. Whether that exists anymore today, I don't know. Families are dispersed to the wind. So we go to friends' houses, we go to community seders, but still in all, we have a memory of our traditions, which carry us forward. Passover. It has several different meanings on different levels. So I'm going to read to you the meaning of Passover from my book, God, Faith, and Reason. As I warm up here, remembering my mother's Passover seders, may she rest in peace in heaven. Probably cooking for God right now, making her God the gefilte fish that he loves. And he's saying, Rachel, make me the Veronicas. I like Veronicas. Can God eat? I don't know. Do we know anything about the next world? I don't know. Do you? Do you have any certainty about it? I don't. All we can do is live in the certainty that we don't know anything about the next world. We know nothing about so many things that we can only be in awe of the higher power. That's all we know. And so we as humans try our best to understand it. And as I said in this book, God, Faith, and Reason, I'll say it again. I myself, speaking for myself alone, I never saw God, nor do I pretend to have any special insights. I've seen snapshots of God, not a complete film. My glimpses of God. There are no cheap thrills to be had here today for the spiritually bankrupt amongst you who may be listening just to mock me or to mock the Jews. It is simply my impression of Passover, the higher power. And so I'll begin with the meaning of Passover. Now, in this book, I talked about Exodus in an earlier chapter. Now I'm going to talk about the Passover holiday. I'm talking about what it means to a person beyond the ritual and how it can be used to improve yourself. Again, I want to emphasize that to me, if a religion doesn't in some way give you courage, strength, or hope, that religion is useless as far as I'm concerned. I want to repeat that. How many times have you gone into a synagogue or a church and come out feeling nothing? Most times you come out feeling like nothing happened. So how good is the religion if nothing happens? Aren't you supposed to be encouraged? The word courage, encouraged. Aren't you supposed to be moved by the sermon, by the cathedral, by the stained glass, by the incantations? You come out stronger or weaker. Religion should give you some connection to the ultimate power that drives the universe. The ultimate power that drives the universe. I was just telling this yesterday to a rabbi that I know, a young guy, very smart guy. I was saying, I don't really know what goes on up there, but I know that sometimes I feel that there's little gears down here that we can turn in our behavior, in our actions. And we move something up there by moving something down here. That could be helping someone who needs help. You could be moving that little gear in your life, helping someone on this planet who desperately needs your help, spiritual or financial, just moral support. You turn that little gear and you could feel a gear, a bigger gear moving in heaven. I can. And religion, therefore, gives you some connection to the ultimate power that drives the universe. I've studied a variety of religions during my life, at some times more actively than others. I've looked for the truth in so many places And in so many ways that my head spins just thinking about it. It has all been an attempt to find meaning in life. What am I doing here? What's the purpose of life? Why do good people suffer? Why do bad people sometimes not suffer? These are the eternal questions. If you find answers in religion, you're lucky. Most people don't. Most experience sit in a church or synagogue or go along with the program and don't even know what they're doing. They hear nothing. They're numb. Their minds are elsewhere, and they're numb in and they're numb out. They come out numb. They go in numb. They come out numb. They take away nothing from it. Occasionally, a person is touched or reached by one of the holy books sitting there, or by a teacher. Occasionally, someone is reached, and that's good enough. You can't expect an entire community to be touched at every sermon. But there's a higher thing in religion, whether it be Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, true Islam, or even Hinduism. All of it is an attempt to tap into some higher power. Even paganism, I'm going to remind you, although not one of the 5 major religions, contains or reaches people trying to tap into a power that runs through them. I've sat in villages at night drinking Yangona in Fiji. Many of them are converted to Christianity, but there's a deeper connection amongst the people that you're talking about a long time ago, sitting in those huts all night long with no light, no electricity, drinking kava all night long, and they're tapping into a power that runs through the people. I felt it, and they felt the power. They want the energy. They want to be innervated. They want to feel the power. They don't want to be de-enervated. They don't want to go to a house of worship and come away feeling weaker than when they went in. Every year, people flock to Lourdes Cathedral in France by the hundreds of thousands. They believe that if they touch the holy water in the grotto of the sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes, they will be healed. They believe it can make the crippled walk, the blind see, the deaf hear. Sometimes people will jump up and say, I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed. What are they going there for? They're going there for a miracle. Now, what is a miracle? It's the energy, the power that drives the entire universe. It's the energy that makes a blade of grass start from a seed, a dormant, dead thing, and turn it into a beautiful green thing. Where'd that energy come from? I call it the nuclear energy of life. Where does it come from? Well, that seed is you. Many of us are walking around like a husk, a dead seed. But inside the apparently dead seed, there is a living green piece of grass, just as inside an acorn there's a great tree. Many of us remain a seed and live our whole life as a seed, waiting for someone, whether it be a woman for a man or vice versa. We wait for someone or something to awaken the seed into life and make it come alive, make a piece of green grass or a tree grow from within us. People often try to find that through religion. Some do. Some go to church every Sunday. Some go every day. A Sunni Muslim prays 5 times a day. He believes he's reaching God 5 times a day. He feels the energy. Many of us cannot feel it at all when we're alone. But when we go into a house of worship, we feel it through the group, through a community. Have you ever been in St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City on Christmas Eve? I have. And if you have, or if you've been in an Orthodox Jewish temple in Brooklyn, New York, when there are 5,000 men chanting at the same time, or even in a village setting where there are 20 men chanting, you felt an energy that you will never feel alone. So there is an argument for the congregation. But I haven't touched on Passover yet. The Jewish people are a very small minority numerically, both in the world and in the United States of America. I think even non-religious Jews have a Seder. Now, many Christians understand what a Seder is. Sometimes Christians go to Seders because they have Jewish friends, or someone in their family has married a Jewish person. It's a rather peaceful, nice, long meal with various ritualistic events, including the unleavened bread or matzah, which I just showed you. A modern Passover Seder may not mean the same thing to people today as the ancient one did to the Israelites. I'm not against tradition. I'm just saying a lot of people don't hear the message anymore or want to listen. Although they may say our ancestors were slaves, it has no meaning to them. What it can mean for us today is that we are still slaves in our own life and that we can break the bonds of slavery anytime we want to. If you take it as a personal Seder, a personal Passover, you can learn to release yourself from your own chains, whether they be alcohol, drugs, sexual addiction, pornography, gambling addiction. You could say you are a slave. Am I reaching you now? You could come to understand that you were enslaved. You can decide from that day forward to seek to break those chains of bondage and become a free man or a free woman. Now, that's another way to interpret the significance of Passover. To give it a modern meaning or an eternal meaning, you must take meaning from the ancient and give it some modern meaning, or else it loses its value altogether. To most people, it has to do with chicken, chopped liver, fish, brisket, and things of that nature. It's about drinking too much wine because you're supposed to drink 4 cups of wine. For too many people, it's an excuse to get drunk around a communal table in a nice setting with a clean tablecloth and good silverware. But the Passover Seder is about breaking our bondage. For though thy people, O Israel, be as the sand of the sea, only a remnant of them shall return, and extermination is determined, overflowing with righteousness. Isaiah 10:22. I'm Michael Savage, and that's the meaning of Passover from God, Faith, and Reason. That's my interpretation, with interpretations from other people that I picked up along the way, modern interpretations. The more traditional Passover Haggadah is much different. This is the one that if you went to Seders, that we grew up with. It's a very beautiful service and dinner, very difficult to pull off properly. My mother did it, I don't know how, in that little house. All the little things, burning the hummer. The pictures are beautiful. And all the prayers. The order, it has so much order to it. I'm not going to read this to you, but it's a beautiful thing. We're supposed to go to it and teach our children about the time we were slaves in Egypt. And what does it mean to a child? What does it mean? Nothing. What does it actually mean to a child? They don't understand it. They don't understand it. And you have to teach the children a little beyond the traditional meaning of things. You have to say to them, yes, there's a tradition. Yes, we were once slaves in Egypt, and once God saved us from Egypt. And we go through the prayers. Why is this night different from all the other nights? And we teach our children why it's a different night. And I like the one about the 4 sons. I remember that. It used to freak me out when we read about the 4 sons. I have to read that to you because as a child, I would ask myself, which son am I? So there are 4 types of sons: the wicked son, the simple son, and the son who does not know how to ask. Is that 3 sons? I thought there was a 4th one. I must have missed one. I must have missed the 4th son. For some reason, I went right over it. I don't see it. Okay, so you sit around the table. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord our God took us out from there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. If the Holy One, blessed be, had not taken our fathers out of Egypt, then the Egyptian empire would have remained powerful, and we, our children, and our children's children, would still be enslaved to a Pharaoh in Egypt. Therefore, even if we are all wise, we are all understanding, and we all know the Torah, we still have the mitzvah to tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. Everyone who discusses the Exodus from Egypt at length is praiseworthy. So there are the sons. I'll read the sons I have here. I thought there were 4 sons. So it says, what does the wise boy say? What does he ask? What does the wicked one say? The wicked boy asks, what is this service of yours? He says, of yours. And he does not include himself by excluding himself from the community and not considering himself involved with this mitzvah. This is a big one. I was like that for many years. I would say, what does this service Passover have to do with me? What is this service of yours? Because it meant nothing to me. I felt like an outsider. And as a result, I wandered in the desert for 50 years. You understand that? You want to wander in the desert until you die? Go ahead. Be my guest. It's your right. You can always mock a religion. You can always mock God. You can always mock the priest, the rabbi. You can sit there and sneer at them and say you're too cool for it. And you are just communicating yourself into wandering in the desert all alone for the rest of your life. I've done it. It's not a great place to be. You exclude yourself from your past. And then the wise, there are the four sons. They are listed in order of their intelligence. The wise son comes first. The wicked son is mentioned second because he too is smart, but he uses his abilities for bad things. That's the wicked son. The simple son is mentioned before the son who does not know how to ask, because the simple son at least knows how to ask something. So what does the wicked boy say? The wicked son say? He says, what is the service of yours? And does not include himself. What does the simple son say? What is the celebration about? When responding to his question, you should say to him, we are celebrating the fact that the Lord took us out of Egypt from the house of slaves with a strong hand. And for the son who does not know how to ask, you must open up the conversation for him, as it says in the Torah. You should tell your son on that for his day of Pesach. Say to him, the Lord performed miracles for me when I left Egypt in order that I keep his mitzvah, such as these mitzvah of Pesach, eating matzah and eating maror. What does that mean? You'll have to study it. But it all begins with the Exodus from Egypt. What was the Exodus from Egypt? Well, you'll have to figure that one out as well. Christians know it very well. They read Exodus in their Bible. They know what Exodus is. I asked yesterday, how did the Jews eat in the desert? What did they eat? Where was the food in Egypt? In the desert, excuse me. There's no food in the desert. There's no grass. There's no wheat. So if the Jews wandered for 40 years, what did they eat? How could they survive? I wanted to know. He said, well, when they left Egypt, they took with them all of their wealth from Egypt, and traders, Traders, would come and visit this odd tribe of Jews wandering in the desert because they didn't know who they were, and they would trade with them food and various things for the riches that the Jewish people were carrying with them from Egypt. That's how they survived. That's what I heard. Very interesting story. Do I know for a fact that it was true? I do not know. I don't believe in manna from heaven myself. But if you want to believe in manna from heaven, believe in manna from heaven. So there's a lot more and a lot deeper meaning than I am able to give to you, because I am not a deeply knowledgeable person of religion or any other religion. There are people who are far more knowledgeable than I am. They're descended from people who are knowledgeable, and they've carried all of this great knowledge, and you should pay attention to them, whatever your religion may be. If you're a Christian, follow your religious beliefs. If you're a Jew, follow your Jewish beliefs. If you're born to a Buddhist family, follow your Buddhist beliefs. If you're born to a Hindu religion, follow your Hindu beliefs. If you're a Muslim, follow your Muslim beliefs. That's what I believe. So many Jews thought that they became Buddhists in the 70s, in Northern California in particular. So many people thought that they were Buddhists. They'd sit and they go like this when they went in a Chinese restaurant. They would thank the guy for a napkin. If he gave them water, they go like this because they thought they were good Buddhists. The guy looked at them like they were like crazy. What's he bowing for, a glass of water and a napkin? He didn't know. But they thought that they were being religious by doing this with the hands and bowing. They're confused people. The religion didn't match them at all. But they felt that they were leaving their own boring religion behind, and they were evolving into Buddhism. They knew nothing about Buddhism, but they became Buddhists. I wrote a book about it once. I actually, it's a piece of it is in here. And I don't have it in here. I know what it was. I can tell it to you in a short version, but I don't think it's appropriate right now. I'm trying to say to you that if you're a Buddhist, practice Buddhism. If you're a Jew, practice Judaism. I'll read you a small piece, page 157, Buddhism, the Religion of Submission. Why I'm reading that today, I don't know, because I suspect many people are listening who were born Jewish and became Buddhists, and they don't know what Buddhism is. They think they know by they humming and chanting and bowing down to a glass of water or a napkin in a Chinese or Japanese restaurant. I wrote Buddhism, the Religion of Submission. I thought that was an interesting piece. And I wrote this, whether I was right or wrong, I really don't know. I thought it was an interesting observation. I conclude myself that all religions are somewhat specific to the nation and the people at the place and time in which they were established. Buddhism was a religion that was very good for people who were serfs and had no chance to advance themselves. No matter what they did, no matter how they did it, they could never, ever move ahead. So they naturally embraced a religion that teaches that it's the norm to get nowhere. No matter what you do, you're going to struggle and fail. That was their situation under the socio-political system they lived under, and they developed a religion that would allow them to cope with or make sense of their lot in life under that system. So Buddhism was ultimately a religion for submission to the inevitable of getting nowhere in life. It's like all religions that appeal to people who are broken and suffering in this life because they promise eternal life in another place. That's fine and good to believe it. It can be very healthy and keep you going and make you a noble person. I know people who are very smart and very successful in this life who don't believe in religion at all. They think it's for the downtrodden, the losers. I've heard it before, that only losers practice religion. The smart ones don't really believe in that. It's for the weak and the losers. I've heard it. And all I say to myself is I pray to God that they don't have to suffer to find God. That's all I say. That's all I say when I hear that. Because when you're riding high, you could believe anything. When you're riding high, you could believe anything you want. You believe you're a God that there is no God. It's all you. You did it all for yourself. You were the one who made yourself that rich man. You're the one who made yourself successful. Well, to a great extent you did, but you weren't alone. I remember there's a piece in there I want to read to you. I want to find it. It's about the Jewish gangster finds God. It's rather long, but it's worth touching on. Because if you would think that a Jewish gangster from the old days would ever be religious, you would say that can't happen. I interviewed him before he died. It was an interesting story. He called my radio show years ago. He passed away years ago. His name was Michael Hardy, and he was the last of the old-time Jewish gangsters. Bugsy Siegel was his godfather. He was, by his own admission, a murderer. This was a man who grew up in the even tougher Brownsville section of Brooklyn, New York. In those days, I suppose it was like the Brownsville of today, with blacks shooting each other over turf wars or just looking at them the wrong way. Well, he grew up like that, and it made him into a very hard person. But there's a difference between being very hard-minded, very tough, very uncompromising, and then crossing that line and being able to cut someone's throat with a soda bottle. I asked him what had driven him to become the criminal he used to be. Would you like to hear the story? I'll read you a little bit here and there. He said, well, I watched those cops come to my mother's house and give envelopes all the time, and city councilmen in New York City and Brooklyn. The president came one time. These are all thieves. You understand? That's how I grew up. I watched that and I understand. Let me tell you the difference between tough and hard. You get tough sleeping in the street for 3 weeks. That'll toughen you up. But hard, brother, I've got 27 years in the worst prisons in this country. I'm hard. That's what he said. I recognize the second part of that answer as somewhat circular. He was saying that prison had made him a hardened criminal, but he had been in prison because he was already a criminal. But take note of the first part of his answer. What started him down the road to a life of crime was his observation of depraved, corrupt local government. Am I reaching you now? I'll go on. I don't want to read the whole chapter. It's quite long. So I say, still there is this nature-nurture question. A lot of people who grew up in Brownsville did not become gangsters. Some became social workers, doctors, teachers. How is it in the same family one guy becomes a gangster, the other becomes like a saint? How is it? Is it nature or nurture? So I ask, is the tendency toward crime born in people rather than something they learn? Because one's brother could have wound up a surgeon, for example, instead of a gangster, even though both grew up in the same rough neighborhood, right? Everyone knows stories like this. How many stories my mother used to tell me because we'd argue over this? She'd ask me, Michael, how do you explain that in the same apartment, in the same Lower East Side that she was in, one brother would become a cop or a doctor and the other would be a criminal? She would say, how did this happen? The same parents, the same background. And we'd argue over nature versus nurture. I asked Mr. Hardy if he thought he had been born a hard man, and here's what he replied. Let me answer that question. Kings and killers are born. They're not made. Great kings are made, okay? Great. Because they step off their throne and they look in people's eyes. They don't look at the top of their heads. But killers are made. Now you want to know the point, the validity to this question, of what I'm saying? I'll tell you what. 6 million Jews went into the gas chamber. 6 million, apparently. Some of them were hoodwinked, but none of them took the opportunity to kill the last Nazi because they walked into that gas chamber. Just grab a pistol and kill them, knowing you're going to die anyway. Those are his words. You understand, Michael? I got in a gunfight in Hollywood, this famous gunfight at a producer's studio, 1978. Well, I got shot. I got shot 6 times by this guy, a movie producer. We shot it out right in front. People thought we were making a movie. I was looking out of the corner of my eye while I'm getting 9mm pumped into me. Okay? And the last bullet that came out of my gun, I ran and I started beating this guy over the head. I was hitting my jugular vein. I was dying, okay? That's the difference. If I'm going to die, I'm going to take somebody with me. That's Michael Hardy. So are killers born or made? Michael Hardy was both. He says both. I must accept the answer he gave me as far as his opinion is concerned. His answer. But it doesn't really matter whether it was nature or nurture. Even a killer like Michael Hardy could change. That's the point of this discussion today. He could have decided not to be a killer any longer. He took a personal decision on his part to become a different person for him to be saved. In other words, by turning to God, he saved himself. And here's the whole point of my story. I appreciate your indulging me by listening to this. It's not directly related to Passover, but I wanted to stay with you a little longer and give you a little more. Now, what changed my life, he asks? I was Corcoran, okay? It's sepsis of the spine, okay? I helped a guy escape out of Donovan prison, a guy named blank blank. I got the warden fired. I did it for that reason, to get the warden fired. Anyway, what happened is I was dying, okay? And I made a prayer. I said, Lord, the cop came in and he started making me sit up. I had sepsis. I had such pain in my back. I had a few days to go. I said, if you ever did this to me on the yard, I'd kill you. But now I'm dying, so you're coming in here to feed off me? He said, well, I said, but I'm getting out in a few days. He said, no, you're not. You're doing life. I said, no, I get out November 27th. He must have looked at the computer. I never seen him again. I was dying, okay? I made a prayer that night. And here's what he said. God, please don't let me die. I promise on my soul I will change my life. This is after 27 years of prison. Now I finally broke. Just a couple of days after I'd finished 17 years for murder. Okay, I broke. But I only broke. But I said, I won't take any vengeance on nobody, and I won't do anything except. I had to interrupt him at this point, and I said to him on the radio show, whoa, you said you broke? What do you mean you broke? You changed? And he answered me on that radio show. I had some great callers, and he said, I broke. Yes, I did. God broke me. God Adonai, El. He's the one who broke me. He broke me. It's an interesting use of the word broke. Hardy said God broke him. I asked him what he meant. He said, because God comes to you he sends people to you. If you don't listen to him, okay, he's going to find a way to break you. He's going to bring you to him. And be thankful he does. Because if he doesn't, then you're lost. You go into Gehenna. And I know that. This is the culture that I come from. This is the Jewish culture, okay? Let me tell you, Michael, I was born into a war zone in Brownsville, okay? It started out with the Profaci Gallo War. Well, I started out with gang wars when I was a kid in Brooklyn, Dead Man's Hill and Crown Heights, okay? That's where I started out. I went to a school where the principal jumped off the roof. We went to see Blackboard Jungle, and I thought it was a musical comedy. Some more happened in a half a day in my school that happened in that whole movie. So God has always been with me, okay? But listen, Michael, he wants you to pay attention to him. If you don't, he's going to cause you to do it one way or the other. If he loves you, if he doesn't love you, he didn't like Cain, okay? Cain didn't make out too good, Michael. It was amazing to me that he referred to the story in Genesis, that it had such an effect upon me. He's referring more to Cain's murder itself than his punishment in living in the land of Nod. But we had both been drawn to the same story. And it doesn't seem too much of a stretch to say that Cain was broken by God when he was exiled to Nod, east of Eden. I was still interested in hearing more about how God had broken him in order to save him. He continued, I'm going to tell you something. That happened to me in Rikers Island years ago when I took my little girl. She was being abused in a foster home. But that actually happened to me. But that's a very heavy experience. But in the hospital in Corcoran, yes, I had a in other words, God, in a sense, God spoke to me, and he let me know, listen, you're headed for a hard time, okay? Now you've got a choice. Now you can either die in this prison, okay? Or you keep having faith in me and I'll bring you through it. And I said, hard time. A couple of days after I had the encounter with the CO, okay, who never came back to my room again. What happened is I was released. I was dead that night, and the nurse told me she brought me back. A few days later, I was released to an ambulance. They brought me to UCSD, and with the great care I got in UCSD, in 1 year I was there for a year, semi-coma, okay, I was there for a year. I had a doctor tell me that he'd give me the operation, but I was going to die anyway. And I told him, listen, I've been in hell that had burned the shoes off your feet in the first 5 minutes. I spent years there. There's nobody going to kill me before God. God knows when I'll die, not you, brother. He wouldn't operate on me. I'm not going to give you his name. Let him go on in his career. But anyway, yes, God came to me and spoke to me, okay? And believe me, he gave me an awakening. And he told me, listen, you got to change your ways. This is part of history. We don't have much time left. Things are going to happen. There's a storm coming. If you don't prepare, if you don't maintain the greatest sanctuary, okay, against tyranny in the world and keep tyrants from controlling it, then we're going to lose it. At the end of the story, he was referring to America. But he and I agree philosophically. When you say you're broken, you say to God, save me and I'll do better. I'll walk the path you've laid out for me in the Bible. I'll turn my back on my previous sinful life. An individual can save himself that way. So can a nation. And once it does, it can bring itself out of the hell it has created on earth and into a more just, equitable, and godly life. That certainly happened for this gangster, Michael Hardy. His decision to change his life and his willingness to follow through are what saved him. I could read you more. I don't think I have the ability right now to sit and read to you. There's many more pages. It's a great story, and I'm quoting from my own book, Jewish Gangster Finds God in God, Faith, and Reason, because I remember he called the show. I couldn't believe that he told this story. This is translated from that radio show. In fact, I'm going to try and find that radio show, if we can, and turn it into a podcast. And I'll conclude it with the last paragraph of this. Yes, I understand exactly what he was saying. We lose our protection. And though Michael Hardy was ultimately 100% responsible for the crimes he committed, We can certainly do things to help future kids make better decisions than he did. It all starts with God. As individuals, as a nation, we must decide to seek him out, to turn our backs on the sins of our past, and to follow through on doing his will. It's up to each one of us. And that's the story. Jewish Gangster Finds God. From my old radio days, it's come back to life for a reason, and the reason is for you today. And if one person listening to this broadcast today is saved from the hell he is in or she is in, then I have done my job. And I thank you for listening. Now I'm going to take a deep breath with some concluding thoughts. Again, today is the day before. Tonight is Passover. I will go to a Seder, a community Seder. My mother is in heaven. There are no more Seders for me to go to of my own. I used to do them in my house. It was always very difficult. The cooking and for 5, 6 people, all the foods, I try to reproduce what my mother gave me. I carried on her tradition. Now I go to a community Seder, which is beautiful. Everything is done. It's clean. The food is great. The rabbi does the prayers properly, tells the story properly. And I give a little speech in the beginning. Why he made me the president of this particular Jewish community, I'll never understand. I told you that. It was a surprise. Out of nowhere. He said, we want you to be the president of this community. I said, but Rabbi, I'm not that religious a man. You know that. I'm not that, that I don't know all the religious stuff. That's why we want you, because in some ways you're more religious than some of the most religious people we know. That's what he said to me. I hope I can live up to their belief in me. That's all I can say. And then something happened. It was 2 Sundays ago that we had an anointing service where they made me the president of this Jewish community. I was shocked. I mean, I knew it was coming. We had the service, and there was about 75 people. It was in a beautiful building, a former Christian Science church that had been built in 1951, redwood and timber. It was beautiful, just beautiful architecture. Everything, the acoustics were fine. So I was very moved by it. My friend Daniel Horowitz gave a speech. My son came in from Florida, gave a speech. The rabbi gave a speech. I gave a 1-hour talk. It's all taped. And it's not been released to the public, and it probably will not be released to the public. It's actually going to be part of a Newsmax television documentary about my life coming out, God willing, this June or July. Why they chose to do a documentary on me, I don't know. It's a great honor. I didn't ask for it. They did one on Elon Musk. I'm not putting myself in his category, but I'll tell you, they did a special on Elon Musk. The same film crew came out and filmed me for 3 days. They filmed my attorney, Daniel Horowitz, for 2 hours. They're going to go to Florida and film my son for 2 hours. So at this service, something happened that I mentioned to you before. I was shocked. I have to read this to you because I never knew this was possible in my lifetime. You talk about a miracle. I did not solicit this. I did not ask for this. I can't show it to you because there's a glass case on it. And the glass will reflect. I'll just show it to you. Message from the chief rabbi of Israel to me, Michael Savage. Moshe Michael Weiner Savage, upon his appointment as president of the Jewish community of this community in California. Rabbi Kalman Meir Ber, chief rabbi of Israel. Do you have any idea what this means to me? Chief rabbi of Israel, president of the Chief Rabbinic Council. They reached out to me, an ordinary man in so many ways. I'm going to read you what he wrote. I don't even know how he knows me. Rabbi Kalman Meir Ber, Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel, transcribed 28th of Adar, 5785, March 28th, 2025. I hereby extend my heartfelt blessings from Jerusalem to the Honorable Mr. Moshe Michael Weiner Savage upon his appointment as president of the Jewish community of Blank, California. I have to read this to you. Serving in a leadership role is a great merit, as our sages teach in the Talmud regarding the virtue of those who are appointed to serve the Jewish community. Jewish tradition bestows countless blessings upon those who dedicate themselves to the public with faithfulness, and they are deserving of increased blessings for good health, peace of mind, and success in all their endeavors. Those who devote their strength, time, skills, and energy to the needs of the community with unwavering dedication are embraced by the Almighty with blessings of atonement. Oh, I pray so. Well being. Oh, I pray so. And longevity. Oh, I thank you for such. Enabling them to continue their sacred mission as public servants of God, charged with elevating and healing the world around them. Our sages teach that God chose Moses to lead the Jewish people because he saw his care and tenderness as a shepherd tending to a single lost sheep. This indeed is the mark of a true leader, one who recognizes and values each individual while also addressing the collective needs of the community. Thus, it is a great merit and mitzvah for someone like Moshe Michael Weiner to be appointed to this position of leadership. Upon you, I bestow this blessing found in our sacred liturgy. May God bless all those who faithfully engage with the needs of the community. May God grant them their reward, remove from them all illness, heal their bodies, and forgive their sins. May God send blessings and success to all that they do, together with all of Israel, their brethren, and let us say amen. Rabbi Kalman Meir Ber, Chief Rabbi of Israel, concludes with this paragraph. May you find great success in your new position, in good health, with much joy and pleasantness. May God grant you all your heart's desires for many happy and fulfilling years ahead. Amen. Folks, many of us solicit awards. We solicit such prestige. And that which we did not solicit when it comes to us has far more meaning. I did not solicit this. I had no idea that the chief rabbi of Israel ever heard of me. I had no idea. I never met the man. I don't know how this happened. I would say it happened through a miraculous chain of events, which I've since discovered made it happen. So what does it do for me? I walk around now with a patch on my arm. Here, no, I have nothing here. I'm not wearing a patch. I'm not wearing a medallion as a soldier would get in battle for doing some courageous thing. Instead, I've been given a duty, a responsibility. So I have to live up to it. It's very hard. I'm 83 years old. I was just 83 last week. Actually, but the Jewish calendar is 83 yesterday. They live on this weird lunar calendar. I don't know. It's always different than the secular calendar I follow. The rabbi said, today's your birthday. Congratulations. I said, no, it was March 31st. He said, but in the Jewish calendar, it's yesterday. Okay. So I spent the day thinking about things all alone. Didn't matter. I liked it. I like solitude. It gives me time to reflect, to rest. Calmness to me is the most important thing. For peace of mind or calmness is the most healing thing on the planet. Oh, I take slews of vitamins. I watch my diet. But peace of mind is the most healing thing on the planet. If you can achieve or attain that quietude, that quiet space inside yourself, and in that space, breathe in that space and connect to the power. You can feel it run through your body. I just felt it right now. So I told you, in 2019, I had an event in the hospital. They told me I almost died. Then I had to go back to the hospital. I thought it was the second time. I met an African nurse. The minute I came in, I saw her eyes. She saw mine. I'd never seen her before, never saw her since. And she said to me, your time is not finished on this earth. Your time is not finished. You have things to do. So, my friends, I have things to do. Where'd this letter come from? What are these things I have to do for this local community? And then from this local community to the larger community of the San Francisco area, which needs such healing. Oh my God, does it need healing? Oh, does it need healing? It needs big healing. Am I the healer? Perhaps. You can mock me if you will. It's not going to change me at all. I learned from a man many years ago, be particular whose insults you take to heart. I pay no attention to those who mock me. I pay attention to the chief rabbi of Israel, not to those who mock. And I pray that the powers that this man has in Israel, and I hope this message that I'm doing today reaches him in some way, will reverberate through California, through America, and through the world. I've done many things in my life, not all good, not all bad. I've had many incarnations, several incarnations in my life. Botanical plant collector, Fiji, many years, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Marquesas. There I am standing with one of the rarest plants on earth. It's so rare, it's found nowhere else on earth. It's in its own family. It's in a family named for Otto Degner, the great botanist, Degeneriaceae. Degeneria vitiensis, purple fruit. I had a painting done of the picture taken of me holding that plant. It's not a medicinal plant. It's not known to be medicinal, but because it was one of the rarest plants on earth, I had my son, who was 8 years old, take that picture of me with my old Nikon. Then I gave it to an artist who painted it. I was a plant collector. What was I as a plant collector? What was I doing as a plant collector? Kid from the Bronx? Why didn't I just become a real estate dealer or a hedge fund schmendrick? Just think about it. If I had gone into the stock market, oh my God, I could have made a fortune. So because I could be at Mar-a-Lago right now, but I'm not. I'm sitting alone in California. This was my calling. Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Marquesas, islands you never heard of. Why did I go there? Collect plants. What for? So they're in herbaria in 7 museums, botanical museums around the world. And that means that the notes I took, this plant was used by this woman to treat, let's say, this or to treat that. So now there's a record of it forever in scientific literature. And people could, let's say, looking for a cure for a type of cancer. They could go and look up, oh, he said that this Fijian healer said that. This Tongan healer said that they use it for that. And we could get the plant, the scientists could, 100 years from now, and they could then extract the sap if it's got a sap, or use solutions to remove the active principles from a root or a leaf, and see if there's an active principle in there that could be used to treat that disease. That's how it works. So my specimens, the dried specimens, are in these herbaria here at the Jepson Herbarium in Berkeley, Honolulu Bishop Museum. I believe it's in the Field Museum in Chicago, the New York Botanical Garden. I'm trying to remember them all. London, the Kew Gardens, which I cannot visit. I'm not allowed to go to England. And I know it's in Moscow, in the Moscow Herbarium. No, I've never met Mr. Putin. He's never given me an award for my for my plant collection. So they're there, this humble plant collector. Instead of buying real estate in Harlem, as I met some Russian friends in the late, what was it, 80s. Harlem was still a slum at the time. They were smart guys, really tough, smart guys. They were buying buildings in Harlem. They were cheap. And they would say, Michael, come in on a building with us. I said, I don't want to be involved. Wasn't my calling. They made a fortune. There was a time when I lived in Hawaii that I was walking in the back of Manoa Valley, and there was running beautiful water, walking in the creek. And I looked down, and there was a petroglyph in the water, an ancient Hawaiian petroglyph in the water. They had some value, collector's value or financial value. And I left it there. I remember picking it up out of the water. I felt right away I did the wrong thing. The minute I removed it from the sediment, I did the wrong thing. And I looked at it. I looked up at heaven and I put it right back into the furrow in the sand that I removed it from. Because it wasn't my calling to collect petroglyphs and sell them. It was wrong. I knew it was wrong. I was in Israel in 1978. Then again in, I don't know, 80. I don't remember the exact years. I went twice to move there. I told that story before. I'm not going to tell it now. I'll never forget what happened there. We went up into the Golan Heights to a beautiful, beautiful town called Sfat. Said to be it was a center for very religious learning. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. And I knew it would one day be very valuable land. And it was cheap. Everything was very cheap because there were like old houses there. They said, Michael, buy a house here in Sfat. It'll always be worth more. I said, no, I don't want it. I don't want to speculate in the Holy Land. I didn't speculate. I didn't speculate at that time, and I don't speculate today on things that are not mine. Why? Well, now I know why. There were those who speculated and made a lot of money and did good with the money. Good for them. God bless them. There are people who have the genius to know what to invest in when and to do good things by it. God bless them, whatever their religion may be. That's not me. I never had a head for this. Never. I had a head for this, of what I'm doing. This is what I've had a head for. This. To talk with you on social media, on my podcasts, on my television shows, my writings, and it's only just begun. I believe that I've been reborn, and I believe it's only just begun, and I have no idea what the road ahead has for me. I don't. But for me to get a proclamation like I just showed you, like this, there's something more going on than I know. Something more up there than I know. So in this case, as I told you earlier, now I'm going to conclude. I feel a conclusion now. As I told you earlier, sometimes I can turn the small gears down here, and I feel the celestial gears moving up there, affecting things over there. I can show it to you over and over again in my life. But in this case, the big gears up there are turning and affecting the small gears inside of me. And only God knows what the road ahead holds. Thank you. May God bless America. May God bless Donald Trump and save America from the evil forces that are trying to bring harm upon him and upon this country. And may we all see a prosperous, beautiful, peaceful America and world. Amen. And I thank you for listening. You can hit the like button if you care to. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can give money to your church or your synagogue. I'm not asking you to give me anything. Make a donation to a religious organization. Help someone who's poor, who needs your help. Do something good. That's the small gear inside of you. Just one little act of kindness is the small gear I'm talking about inside of yourself. Just turn that gear that much, and you'll move something up there that'll affect something down here.